The cricket in Times Square. Essential question. What makes a new friend feel welcome? Genre. Fantasy. Part 1. Chester. Tucker Mouse had been watching the Bellinis and listening to what they said. Next to scrounging, eavesdropping on humans' beings was what he enjoyed most. That was one of the reasons he lived in the Times Square subway station. As soon as the family disappeared, he darted out across the floor and scooted up to the newsstand. At one side, the boards had separated and there was a wide space he could jump through. He'd been in a few times before, just exploring. For a moment, he stood under the three-legged stool, letting his eyes get used to the darkness. Then he jumped on it. Psst, he whispered. Hey, you up there, are you awake? There was no answer. Psst, psst, hey! Tucker whispered again, louder this time. From the shelf above came a shuffling, like little feet feeling their way to the edge. Who is that going psst? Said a voice. It's me, said Tucker, down here on the stool. A black head with two shiny black eyes peered down at him. Who are you? A mouse, said Tucker. Who are you? I'm Chester Cricket, said the cricket. He had a high musical voice. Everything he said seemed to be spoken to an unheard melody. My name's Tucker, said Tucker Mouse. Can I come up? I guess so, said Chester Cricket. This isn't my house anyway. Tucker jumped up beside the cricket and looked him all over. A cricket, he said admiringly. So you're a cricket. I never saw one before. I've seen mice before, the cricket said. I knew quite a few back in Connecticut. Is that where you're from? Asked Tucker. Yes, said Chester. I guess I'll never see her again, he added wistfully. How did you get to New York? Asked Tucker Mouse. It's a long story, sighed the cricket. Tell me, said Tucker. Sitting back on his haunches, he loved to hear stories. It was almost as much fun as eavesdropping, if the story was true. Well, it must have been 3 days ago, Chester Cricket began. I was sitting on top of my stump just enjoying the weather and thinking how nice it was that summer had started. I live inside an old tree stump next to a willow tree, and I often go up to the roof to look around, and I'd been practicing jumping that day too. On the other side of the stump from the willow tree, there's a brook that runs past, and I've been jumping back and forth across it to get my legs in condition for the summer. I do a lot of jumping, you know. Me too, said Tucker Mouse, especially around the rush hour. And I had just finished jumping when I smelled something. Chester went on. Liverwurst, which I love. You like liverwurst? Tucker broke in. Wait, just wait. In one leap, he sprang all the way from the shelf to the floor, dashed over to his drain pipe. Chester shook his head as he watched him go. He thought Tucker was a very excitable person, even for a mouse. Inside the drain pipe, Tucker's nest was a jumble of papers, scraps of cloth, buttons, lost jewelry, small change, everything else that could be picked up in a subway station. Tucker tossed things left and right in a wild search. Neatness was not one of the things he aimed at in life. At last, he discovered what he was looking for. A big piece of liverwurst he had found earlier that evening. It was meant to be for breakfast tomorrow. But he decided that meeting his first cricket was a special occasion. Holding the liverwurst between his teeth, he whisked back to the newsstand. Look, he said proudly, dropping the meat in front of Chester Cricket. Liverwurst, you continue the story. We'll enjoy a snack too. That's very nice of you, said Chester. He was touched that a mouse he had known in a few minutes to share his food with him. I had a lot of chocolate before. Beside that, nothing to eat for 3 days. Eat, said Tucker. He bit the liverwurst in 2 pieces, gave Chester a big one. So you smelled the liverwurst. Then what happened? I hopped down from the stump and went off toward the smell, said Chester. Very logical, said Tucker Mouse, munching with his cheeks full. Exactly what I would have done. It was coming from a picnic basket, said Chester. A couple of tuffets away from my stump, the meadow begins, and there's a whole bunch of people having a picnic. They had hard-boiled eggs, cold roast chicken, beef, a lot of other things besides liverwurst. Tucker Mouse moaned with pleasure at the thought of all that food.